Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to go over some 2026 fantasy must-draft players. I know it is very early, but there's no better time to do it than right now. So let's go through 12 guys that I have my eye on already at current price. And before we get into it, I would really appreciate it if you guys hit the subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get right into it here. Starting at number 12, we are going to go with RJ Harvey. He saw an increased role in the back half of the season when J.K. Dobbins missed time. I'm not sure if they'll bring back Dobbins in 2026, but even if they do, I really like RJ Harvey to take that next step. He's older than a lot of those rookie running backs in 2025. He's already over age 25, so I think he's ready for that more bell cow workload in the sense that he can really carry 15 to 20 touches a game. He's great in the receiving game. I think he's going to be undervalued just strictly because I think teams are going to be thinking that the Broncos offense isn't as good as it really was. Moving on from their offensive coordinator, yes, it's going to be a little bit of a shift. However, I think the main plan of the new OC is going to be to get RJ Harvey the ball as much as possible. So he's one of my favorite targets going into 2026. And following him up is going to be Drake May. Yes, he finished as the QB2 in 2025, and he's probably going to get drafted a little bit higher than that, obviously, going into 2026. But I think you should take him similar to how you're drafting Josh Allen. It really doesn't matter who his weapons are. He gets it done on the ground, over 450 rushing yards, multiple rushing touchdowns, and I think you're just scratching at the surface of what he can be as far as a fantasy product in the sense that he loves to scramble, and inside the red zone, if they start calling Drake May's number even more, I think those rushing touchdowns are going to overpower guys like Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow that really don't have much rushing upside, in that him and Josh Allen are the two guys that I'm actually happy drafting early as far as drafts go. So I like Drake May as one of my favorite targets. Following him up is going to be Terry McLaurin, a guy who didn't have a good 2025. After signing that big contract extension, it just never really panned out. He wasn't able to stay healthy, unfortunately. But with Jaden Daniels coming back, fully healthy, him and Daniels in 2026, I like taking the chance on the rebound. The defense is going to get a little bit better due to their high draft pick, but they have so many holes that it's not going to get fully fixed. And what that actually means is that they're going to have to play catch up, and that's what you really want for fantasy offenses is a defense that is bad and an offense that is good. So a lot of shootouts, and I think that's going to remain to be kind of the system in Washington going forward, especially in this division. They're going to have to put up points to keep up with Philly, Dallas, and New York with Malik Neighbors back and the Giants offense. So I think Terry McLaurin could be that wide receiver one product that you had in 2024. And with Deebo Samuel probably moving on from Washington, maybe he makes a return to San Francisco or any other contending team. I think this is Terry McLaurin and really no one else in the wide receiver room. So don't be shocked if he returns back to top 20 or even top 15 wide receiver production. So give me Terry, and then following him is going to be Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, another quarterback that I think is going to get undervalued in 2026. I don't think he's going to be in the same realm of QB3 or 4. I think he's going to fall down to that 7 or 8 spot because he wasn't able to stay healthy in 2025, which, yes, really let you down, but going into the future, you can't really project injuries. Guys that got hurt in the past are not more likely to get hurt. It's all luck, and I think Joe Burrow is capable of much more than he showed in 2026. I think he has a little bit more of a rushing floor than you would think, based on his lack of rushing usage down the stretch. And I think that's just a byproduct of the turf toe really getting to him and irritating him enough to where you don't want to re-injure it. But I think in 2026, he's capable of scrambling a little bit more and getting back weapons of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I mean, it's a recipe for success, and same goes with Washington. They don't have any talent on defense, so I like going forward with Joe Burrow as a mid-round quarterback that I would love to target. Following up Joe Burrow at number 8 is going to be Jakobi Meyers. Yes, this wide receiver room is very crowded, but I think Jakobi Meyers serves the biggest purpose of this wide receiver room, and I say that because he has the most design touches. He runs a lot of those high-value crossing routes as part of the Liam Cohen scheme. I think those are very valuable for fantasy, and he's developed chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. Not all wide receivers can say that, similar to Brian Thomas Jr., that they're never really on the same page, and they're starting to use BTJ as more of just a deep threat and quick wide receiver screens. So I like Jakobi Meyers. I think he's safe for like 6 or 7 targets and catches per game. So I like him wherever his value is in 2026. And then at number 7, we are going to have Rashee Rice. I fully expect Patrick Mahomes to be ready by week 1, and that is a recipe for success. With Mahomes on the field, Rashee Rice is a top 5 wide receiver, cut and dry. I think he's super valuable in those short, over-the-middle targets that made Travis Kelce so great, but as he winds down in his career, it's Rashee Rice's turn to really step up, and I think they're going to try and involve Xavier Worthy more than like the wide receiver screens and deep shots. So it really opens up the middle of the field for Rashee Rice. And with no Matt Nagy, I know the passing yards yards per game for Mahomes in the 3 years without Matt Nagy were top 5 every single year. And then with Nagy, they played a little bit slower. They leaned on the run game. So I'd expect them to go back to that high-powered Chiefs offense that we know and love. No matter who they bring into this offense, whether it's Jeremiah Love or another high-powered running back, I think it's only going to make their offense more dynamic and open things up for Rashee Rice in this offense to go back to where they truly belong. And then after him is going to be Luther Burden of the Chicago Bears. I really, really like him to be a breakout in 2026. One of my favorite guys watching in the playoffs in the back half of the season. That game against San Francisco in particular, he really showed out. I think he's more than what they used him to be. I think Ben Johnson knows that. And guys that operate in the slot for Ben Johnson, I'm not saying that he's Amon-Ra, but I think he showed a lot of talent and flashes in 2025. And Ben Johnson's going to spend all offseason figuring out how to get him the ball the most into this next season. And I think they're going to start to phase out DJ Moore in this offense and really lean on the young guns of him, Rome Odunze, and Colston Loveland. So I like Luther Burden to continue his breakout into 2026. Into our top 5, we've got Harold Fannin, another second-year guy. A lot of NFL and kind of fantasy guys said that Harold Fannin couldn't play in the NFL. His game just wouldn't translate, but it surely did. At yards after catch, he was just an absolute monster. David Njoku is an unrestricted free agent, and I wouldn't be shocked if they let him go because Harold Fannin just does everything that Njoku does, just a little bit better at this point of his career. He's great after the catch, he's great downfield, he's a great blocker, so I like Fannin going forward, especially if Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback going forward with Todd Monken as the head coach. I think it's good days ahead for Fannin. With Sanders throwing the ball like 40 times a game, at least 15 of those targets go to Fannin, what it felt like. And he was one of the safest PPR volume tight ends that we have. So I think only bright days are ahead for him, especially in the red zone. Shedeur loved targeting the tight ends. So I think he's in for a big 2026 campaign. And then into the top 4, we've got Christian Watson, another guy that's been in the league for a few years here, but was coming off the ACL in 2025 and really started to find his stride through the back half of the year. Since week 10, he was actually a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy. I know it's a little bit hard to believe, but it was fully true. And that came with a few games with Malik Willis and Jordan Love not playing full games. And I think the Packers are going to need to lean on him more in 2026 with Tucker Kraft probably missing a few of the early season games coming off the ACL. Watson is fully healthy and ready to dominate. They just extended him, and I think he's the key to this Packers offense. He's a great downfield threat, but can also do it on every single level. And as they try and pivot away from the run game as the offensive line is a little bit depleted, I really am bullish on Christian Watson. And then at number 3, we've got our cover photo here. Cam Skattebo coming off the ankle injury. He just runs violent, and if there's anyone that's going to attack the rehab harder, no doubt in my mind it's going to be Cam Skattebo. So I'd expect him to be fully ready week 1 somehow and hit the ground running. So Skattebo is going to be interesting in 2026, but the offense got a lot better. They're bringing back Malik Nabers, Jackson Dart taking that second-year breakout, and you just got a whole new coaching staff. Like I said earlier with Matt Nagy leaving the Chiefs, him being the new OC for the Giants really opens things up for this rushing game. They love to lean on the ground, and I'd expect them to go in the draft in the offseason and beef up that O-line and really lean on Skattebo and let Dart play on the play action to really slow things down, to let their defense get more breaks because they have all the talent. They just need a little bit more time. So I think playing with pace is going to benefit them well in 2026 and remove any of the Jackson Dart mistakes late in games and be able to kind of use the play action more to the strength of Malik Nabers, but really lean on the ground and pound with Cam Skattebo as the bell cow running back. And then at number 2, we've got Chris Olave. You're starting to see a theme of a lot of these guys that showed flashes at the end of 2025, and I expect that to continue. Olave with Tyler Shuck, the 17-game pace would have put him at the wide receiver 3 in overall fantasy in 2025. I'm not saying he's going to return to that production, but I think he's very capable of a top 6 wide receiver finish. Yes, I think they're going to bring in more wide receivers because, let's be honest, it was really him and Juwan Johnson and no one else. So don't be shocked if they try and make a free agent push at like Juwan Jennings, or even if they can pry Wandale off the open market. Some guys to take off the double coverage of Chris Olave. I think it's going to be a good thing for him. And the one golden lining of this is that he has great chemistry with Tyler Shuck. And going into a full offseason training with him, I think the sky's the limit for Chris Olave. And then at number 1, we've got Marion Hampton. With Mike McDaniels now as the OC, everything is perfect. The outside zone scheme that benefited the Dolphins and the Niners for so many years now finds its way in Los Angeles and fits Jim Harbaugh's overall run-first scheme. So I expect them to lean on Marion Hampton a whole lot. I was scared because Greg Roman was always a pro of the multiple running back system. But I don't think you're going to see too much of Kamani Vidal in 2026. I think once Mike McDaniel sees how talented Omarion Hampton is when fully healthy, and they wasted, or not wasted, they used a first round draft capital on Hampton. They want to get him the ball. So don't be shocked if he's involved both in the rushing game and in the passing game, and is an overall bell cow that I think could win people fantasy championships in 2026. But that is going to do it for our 12 must draft players. I know it is way too early for 2026, but drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and that is going to do it. So hit that subscribe button, and peace.